Hi, this is Catherine Schneider from the Fitchburg Historical Society. Today we're very excited to welcome Carole Kinney, who is a board member from the Fitchburg Historical Society, to tell us about actually the beginnings of the Fitchburg Historical Society and then some information about the archives of the Fitchburg Historical Society. So welcome, Carole.
Okay, well, thank you.
Well, and Carole, I'd like to start with your family because you married into the Kinney family, which of course is very much of a pioneer family in Fitchburg. And could you give just a brief history of the Kinney family?
Okay, well, the pioneers, Andrew and Michael Kinney, came from Ireland, and they went to Canada first. And later they knew they would be coming here. But anyway, they were in Canada, and that was in 1831. So they set up a little homestead there. And we actually, Bill and I, my husband and myself, went to where this homestead is in Canada about 4 or 5 years ago. And sure enough, you could tell where they lived. And what they put is a big cross there. I don't think they did it. Somebody, after they moved, put this huge white cross there. And it said Kinney something on it. So I thought that was interesting that they did that. So eventually, when they came, Andrew and Michael, they set up this homestead. And eventually, they heard about land that was available in Fitchburg, Wisconsin, which was called Greenfield at the time. And that was 1833, so they were 2 years like in Canada. And then they thought they would take off and see what they could find so that they could bring their families, more of their family over there. So when they arrived, all the land in central Fitchburg was uninhabitable wilderness, and that's literally what they called it, and that's been passed down through the ages. That's the way this place started out. Irish Lane and all that was uninhabitable wilderness. We always get a big laugh anyway. So the Kinneys had the pick of the territory, though, and they had 240 acres is what they were given at the time, because there was hardly anybody there. So then here's a picture of the 1844 log cabin with Michael Kinney and his wife Alice, and this was in the 1880s when they took this.
It certainly looks like a log cabin that would have been from that era, 1844.
Yes. We assume that when they first got here, the two guys must have just put up anything they possibly could. But as time went on, and in that date, then two people are sitting outside of it. So it's interesting to have. And that was up till Bill's aunt told me 1916 before they actually got rid of it.
So it was
they
up
just
there a
left
long
it, yeah.
time.
And so then, anyway, then when they could afford to build a big house, they did that. So eventually the Kinneys built a large, what they called a frame house, kind of like a name for it, in 1896. And unfortunately that house burned in 1920. So they didn't, what do they have that about, 30 years, 40? Anyway, quite a while, and unfortunately that one burned. And the only thing they could really save, and Bill's aunt used to kid about it and tell us, she said, really, I was little then. And she said, I saw the only thing they could save was a piano that they had. And that meant so much to those people. She said that they did everything they could, and she was just a small child, but she said, I remember that. They had to get that piano out of there. And then they got a few other things, and that was at the house. So that house was replaced by the current farmhouse, the one that's up now, which is in excellent shape and is really a nice house, you know. And family members are in that house. They bought it. And just to tell you how Irish Lane got its name, around that time, Madison Gas and Electric asked Ed Kinney what they should say the name of the road should be besides Route 3. And he said, well, he said, they might as well call it Irish Lane because all the Irish are coming out here now.
Very appropriately named.
Yes, yes. So, and of course we, ourselves, my husband and I, built our house on the same land close by the big farmhouse or where the big old log house was. And we built ours in the 1960s when we were married. And 4 other family members have since then built houses on that land.
So
Because there's a lot of acreage. Yeah, so
the
they
Irish
really were
clan
filling it in.
of the Kinneys
Yes.
have been there ever since
Yes.
those 1830s.
Yep.
That's long history. in Fitchburg.
1833 when they actually came there. Like I said, it was called Greenfield. But I think there was some confusion about a Greenfield in Milwaukee. I should have asked Bill more about that. But anyway, that's why they changed the name of it. So that's probably all I need to tell you about that.
Yep.
We all have houses on there now, and all my sister-in-laws are going out for my birthday today. So. Birthday supper.
I want to wish you a very happy birthday today, too.
Well,
Carole.
thank you.
Carole Kinney.
You just have to take them one at a time.
For sure.
You don't
for
have
sure.
to say how many they are. You just, but anyway, I thought you'd like to see. I mean, that was actually a pretty nice-looking log cabin.
Indeed.
But Bill's Aunt Helen told us that that was up, she said, till 1916. She was just a small child at the time, but she said that that was still there, and then they tore it down. She said, actually, we had a lot of fun playing in it. We weren't supposed to, she said, but how could you resist?
How could you resist?
Yeah, a little kid, 10, 11 years old.
Great. Well, Carole, let's move on to the Fitchburg Historical Society itself, because I know you've been with the Fitchburg Historical Society since its beginning. So maybe, who was involved in getting it started? Why did it get started? What was the impetus for forming the society? And then when was it first formed? Kind of all those original questions about the Fitchburg Historical Society.
Okay. I'm excited, really, to be able to give you a brief history of the Fitchburg Historical Society. It's pretty easy for me to do since I was one of 7 people who got together on September 17th, 1986, with Jeannie Sealing, who was then the mayor of Fitchburg. And so we met in the office of the old City Hall on Fish Hatchery Road. Do you remember the old City Hall?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, on Fish Hatchery Road. And the 7 people were Phil and Anna Fox, myself, Jean O'Brien, Mickey Schmudlock, Jeannie Sealing, and Edna Stoneman. And the mayor, Jeannie, had called some of us together to discuss the possibility of setting up a historical society to preserve the history of Fitchburg and get it in some organized fashion for safekeeping and accessibility to the people in Fitchburg. So if you recall, Fitchburg had just become a city in 1983, and this was 1986, and more thoughts were going towards preserving historical photos, family histories that they might have, school histories, old maps, stuff that was just scattered around the community. So at the first meeting, we discussed such things as, would we collect artifacts? Where would we find a home for our collections? So we set up another meeting for October to invite other interested people in the community in order to get more input in this big undertaking. Phil Fox volunteered to put an article in the Madison newspapers and in the surrounding local newspapers, including the Fitchburg Star, inviting people to a meeting to be held in October. So Phil and Anna Fox and Connie Darling and I met quite a few times at my house trying to work out the nitty-gritty of how we would handle a charter membership at a big upcoming meeting on October 22nd. When the day arrived, 15 citizens showed up to discuss the formation of a historical society and charter membership. It was a fun, exciting meeting. Excuse me a minute. I have allergies. We made a list very quickly of about 10 things we wanted to do. So then we contacted Tom McKay, who was in charge of the local history division of the Wisconsin State Historical Society, so we could be a part of the other local historical societies. We talked about preserving the Dogtown Schoolhouse, preservation of the McCoy House, researching cemeteries, oral interviews, etc. We were excited and full of plans. The idea that Jeannie Sealing had sparked in the beginning had grown up into a full-blown active society, which we attribute completely to citizens in the community who really had the preservation of the history and this wonderful community at heart. We delved right in with some interesting programs. The word got out and our numbers were growing quickly. So the first officers elected pro tem, which meant for the time being, co-presidents Arlene Ace and Carole Kinney, myself, Vice President Edna Stoneman, Secretary Anna Fox, Treasurer John Darling, Publicity Chairman Phil Fox, and membership Connie Darling. A successful charter membership meeting was held on the planned date of February 15, 1987, at 2 o'clock in Fitchburg City Hall, still on Fish Hatchery Road. 89 citizens became charter members. I mean, that was incredible. I remember that we were just stood there in awe that all these people were so interested and wanted to do it. So on February 20th, 1987, we were informed that the Board of Curators of the State Historical Society of Wisconsin approved our application for affiliation with them. We officially became the Fitchburg Historical Society, a 501c3 organization. So that was quite the day.
How exciting.
February 20th, 1987. So the officers elected for 1987 were President, myself, Vice President Arlene Ace, Secretary Anna Fox, Treasurer Margaret Eby. So then we knew we had to find a place to store things that people would be giving us and an office to work in. Well, it wasn't long, and there was a lot of talk about Fitchburg wanting a library. So we immediately requested an office and a place to store things in the library. We did get a place in the basement to store some things, so the archives are located in our office and in the basement, depending on what it is. The office has big file drawers, and the public is allowed to see what is in the archives, but we have to be there and get it out for them. Everything is alphabetized and so forth, but they just have to call our office, and if they can't get through, they can call the library and they'll ring the office phone. Then we set up a time with them. Our current president is Alan Tariba, and our board meets every other month. Alan has set up a wonderful website that we have, and would you believe that everything that we have in the archives is on that website? That's exciting.
It is exciting.
When I think about it, because he has put hours and hours and hours in on that website, and it's wonderful.
It is a wonderful resource, and it makes possible the world actually can see anything that the Fitchburg Historical Society has in the archives, because it's available online at fitchburghistory.org.
Yes.
So it's a tremendous resource that can be accessed by anyone who has access to a computer. So
yes, it is. So many people have told us, oh yes, we go into that. And he keeps everything up to date, anything that we're given and can accept. And we keep either in the office, we have big drawers like and all alphabetized. And we let him know right away, so then he puts it on his website that we have such and such available. Yes, to me that it's worth $1 million. Alan keeps everything updated. He's very conscientious about that. So what else can I tell you about that?
Well,
We have speakers that come every two or three times during the year, and they talk on whatever we want them to tell us about Fitchburg. And we usually have it like on a Sunday afternoon, and we get about 50 people or more each time. And someone asked me about donations, so I want to make this comment. We have a treasurer who keeps an accurate account of everything we have and reports to us at our semi-monthly meetings. We meet every other month, and he lets us know and gives all of us a copy of the latest transactions that have taken place. So I just wanted to include that in there.
And that's at the board meetings that happens.
Yes.
And it's every other month.
Yes. Let's see if there was anything else that I wanted to. Well, this meant a lot of time, let me tell you, that we did this thing. We have everything that we have in our inventory. Here.
And look how many pages that entails.
Yes, on both
it out.
sides. Everything from, if you ask me about, well, what do you have on, say, Bancroft Dairy? Well, there's 3 things. Tell Bancroft Dairy where it is, what we have on it. And we really do. It was a lot of time spent, but well worthwhile, because I have one of these in the office, one of these down in the basement of the library, and also one at my house. Because when people call and say, do you have anything on such and such? Well, just let me look.
And you have it available to show them and
Yes.
let them know.
Yes.
So Carole, if someone is wanting to access something in the archives or has a question, they would call the Fitchburg Historical Society number, but that can be accessed then through the library. They can call
Yes.
the library and then have access to leaving a message and then arranging for an appointment for someone from the Historical Society to meet them and help them with the archives, helping them see what's in the archives, particularly if there's a specific question. So the archives, do you want to just maybe give some of the range that's in the archives? Because I know there's things like pictures, family histories, etc. Do you want to enumerate maybe a little bit what's available?
There's so much. We even have one file that people, if they wanted something on their families, we accept that. Say, for instance, the Kinney family, which I think we have. We haven't had time, but I think I put stuff in there. And we have a special file just for families. That's one thing, that's separate. We have so much in there, but it is all divided up. It might say government.
Or schools, for instance.
Or schools, excellent, yes, schools. Things like that, yes. We have those divided up, so if somebody came in and asked, something about one of the public schools, or what happened to this school that used to be on the corner of Lacey and Fish Hatchery, we can look that up right there. So we have quite a bit there, because downstairs we have some things.
More objects, is that right?
Yes, exactly. We can't accept very much of anything. It has to be something very important and that people would like to look at sometime. And because we only have so much space down there.
Space is limited. Space is very limited.
Because the library, a library has their separate room anyway, but this is just for storage of things. And the air is right. I don't even know what you call that, but they keep that all good down there, so we don't have to worry about why you're putting that stuff in the basement. Well, the basement is
very perfect environment for things that are donated. They're really kept under good conditions that will be preserved.
Yeah.
Well, Carole, can I ask you the question of what you consider maybe the highlights of what the Historical Society has been able to offer to the community since its inception in 1987?
Well, we do have a meeting for anybody who wants to come twice a year, at least twice a year. And if someone suggests to us, why don't you have so-and-so come and talk about this or that, And so we can get them. And that's one way we feel that we can reach out more and let them know what's going on. And they certainly can come to our regular meetings. Usually nobody does, but because they figure, But some people, though, once in a while, we get people want to sit in our meetings and see what we cover. And we're always looking for new things. If people may have a collection of something that they don't want anymore, and if we think it would be nice to have. So we do accept things like that. That's probably about all I can tell you. Mainly in the basement are things. Just the other day, someone gave us, they're actually like little scrapbooks, and she's got all kinds of barns. She really was taking pictures of barns, and I think she gave us about 12 of those. So we've got to now put that down here and included it on here, and that people want to see them. But that was a favorite thing of hers, and she has just, I don't know how many barns that she has seen, not only, in Fitchburg, but the outside of Fitchburg too. So we just accept it all because they're done beautifully in small scrapbooks like that. She's got them all.
Sounds like a wonderful new addition to the archives.
Yeah.
Great. Finally, Carole, I'd like to ask you, with all your years, since the beginning, being involved in the Fitchburg Historical Society, maybe what's given you the most satisfaction about being involved in and belonging to the Fitchburg Historical Society?
Well, I have the feeling if people want to know something about Fitchburg, the history of Fitchburg, they can ask us and we'll find it, because we have enough stuff there that we can tell them, from the very beginning, like we said, when Kinneys came and what things were like, and that's how we get a hold of things. And we have, like, our family history is all in there in a folder, and I think they just can learn about what Fitchburg was like back then and how people settled in, and I think that's of interest to a lot of people. To
know your past and how you got to be where you are now.
And to know why things are laid out like they are now, because I always think everybody thinks we're out in the country. They'll say, well, you're coming in from the country. Even at church, they'll say, well, you have a long ways to come. I said, no, it's not that far. Just go down Fish Asher Road and turn down Irish.
Irish Lane.
Well, as far as we're concerned, that's country. We have many laughs about that now, even. They'll say, well, we consider that country. But anyway, I think it's interesting. This particular book that we have here, our son, he's got my name on it too.
Can I just hold it up and maybe show people how that looks,
sure.
Carole? So it's the Kinney family of Irish Lane. And so this would also be available in the Fitchburg Historical Society collections.
Yes.
This is the kind of thing that is available on family history.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned it, because we have a whole shelf in the office there of different families who wanted us to have something like that in there. And so we do have it, because there's a lot of history, even in the beginning of this, where he's got from the barony of Moorcarn to the homestead of Fitchburg, Wisconsin. And he goes into just a lot of stuff. There's the big cross that we saw, the luminous cross up in Canada, that we actually saw. And that, now, who would ever put it there, right around in there, is where their house was. We have, we went and looked the whole thing up in Canada, and yes, they said that's where the Kinneys lived.
And to have
until
that
they moved
marked
to Fitchburg.
And
yes, and
noted.
Somebody put that there, and no one really quite knows who did it. They said, well,
so interesting.
Somebody put it there, yeah.
And I'm thinking, because the Fitchburg Historical Society has so much available, that people who are interested in either family history, Fitchburg history, businesses, churches, schools in the area have access to information about that through the Fitchburg Historical Society. And Carole, thanks to you for helping to start this wonderful organization that has just continued to be so important to the community to save its history. And so we thank you for all you have done to do that through the years.
Well,
and we'll just remind people that accessing Fitchburg website can be done through fitchburghistory.org. So we really encourage people to look that up and to be aware that all of that is just available online, as well as the possibility of calling the Fitchburg Historical Society directly and coming in to see the archive. So we welcome you to do either of those.
Good.
Thank you so much, Carole.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to be able to do it, and hopefully people will go into, FitchburgHistory.org and see what he's done, because Alan Tree really has done a tremendous. He's put a lot of work into it,
Yes,
and he's
indeed.
very happy about it too, and it's so accurate. My husband and I, we go through anything he adds and looks at it and make sure everything's all. We just thoroughly enjoy doing it,
That's great. That's great.
So-
A dedication to history.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Carole.
Okay, you're welcome.